All right.
Hey y'all,
Hello,
it's your
everyone.
Hello. I'll let y'all do the introduction. And here's Love.
okay.
See me on the screen
Okay.
now. Oh,
There
there I
she is.
go.
Okay, there we
I
go.
still can't hear nobody if y'all talking. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
We hear you.
I can't hear y'all. What did I
Hmm.
do?
Yeah.
She might have to go in her settings. For some reason, I feel like she did something like right before her camera flipped, and then whatever she did may have affected, like reset it or
I don't know
something.
then.
Okay. For our listeners, thank you for being here on Noir Aunties. You are seeing the amplification of technology live, and we're going to figure this out because we have a very important speaker for you today. But we're going to figure this out.
Hi, Samri. I see you there in the chat.
Okay. Maybe if I mute us. I hope you can hear me, Love. I just muted you for a second. Let me see what happens when I unmute you. If that's any better, I hope so.
Hit my
Because
mic.
that's what I could do. Okay.
Okay, unmuted. Okay, I'm gonna leave out one more again. One more time.
Okay, babe. We'll be here.
Okay, we'll be here.
All right. Let's go ahead and welcome everybody.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Auntie D. This is Auntie Love. And we have Auntie Key with us today. And this is my auntie. We're going to be talking with author Love Maya Edwards of A Black Woman Centered. We're just, technology is like, Black women can't sit down and talk among themselves about themselves and center themselves. So technology is like, nope. But we're going to get there because this is important. Okay, now there's an echo. Okay, is that better?
No, the echo is whenever someone else is talking, we all need to mute because we'll hear
Okay.
their sound coming through the speakers.
Okay.
So whenever
All right.
somebody else is talking, just make sure to mute. Hey, can you hear us?
I can. Y'all still low, but I can hear y'all. I think I'm gonna try to put my headphones on. Give me a second.
Okay.
Maybe that'll help. I don't know what happened here.
Let me see. I'm trying to see if there's like a volume here on the screen on my end that I can navigate you to. I don't see anything, so I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead. Welcome to everyone coming in. Please leave a like on your way in. Yes, tech is going to tech bliss. Um, I'm going to go ahead and read the bio and then we'll kind of proceed and see where we go from there. So we're very fortunate to have Love Edwards. Self-Centered Love slash Love Edwards is the author of A Black Woman Centered, A Revolution of Self and Sisterhood, and the facilitator of Self-Centering Studies 101, Decentering Men, Reclaiming Joy and Centering Black Women. Love is a scholar and sociologist. She devotes her brilliance, expertise, education, and study to center Black women and Black girls in helping us to navigate a very hostile environment of people in diverse demographics, wielding the deadly trifecta of patriarchy, racism, and misogynoir upon the bodies, minds, and spirits of Black women and Black girls. With a bachelor's degree in sociology and African American and African studies, as well as a master's level education in forensic psychology, she brings both academic expertise and lived experience to her work. With over 20 years in the social service field, Love has worked directly with Black women and children, witnessing firsthand the impact of male centered conditioning and systemic neglect. Her mission is clear: to reintroduce Black women and girls to their extraordinary power buried within and under the pain and suffering at the hands of others, violent anti Black women and Black girl behaviors, and to reclaim their time, energy, and joy by prioritizing themselves unapologetically. Through her book, teaching, and advocacy, she's committed to helping Black women unlearn harmful conditioning, embrace self centering as an act of liberation, and build lives rooted in autonomy, self love, and sisterhood. Welcome to Noir Aunties.
Thank you so much for having me, ladies. I really appreciate it.
You're muted, love. You can unmute
Uh-oh.
now, love. No, not you, not
Can
the
y'all?
guest love, the host love. I can hear you, guest love.
Yes, we're two loves. Yes. Um, yeah, I've been so excited about today. Like I couldn't even really sleep for the last couple of days because there's just so much to you what you wrote. And I'd like for you to kind of tell us about what your inspiration was for the book, Black Women Centered.
So absolutely, I love that question. So first and foremost, um, my personal life, just moving through the world of the Black woman and noticing patterns constantly and how I was interacting with the world, how people were interacting with me. But also, I've spent most of my life working in service to Black women and children, child protective services for more than 15 years. I studied sociology and African American studies in college, and then went on to get my master's in forensic psychology. So I've always had an interest in understanding human behavior. And again, like from that experience and those tools, I was able to identify patterns in how Black women were treated and how Black girls are treated. And I wanted to know, like, I wanted to figure out what that common thread was. And at the root of it, to me, it seemed to be male centeredness, it seemed to be patriarchy. And I started to wonder what it would look like for Black women if we were able to not only decenter men, but center ourselves, to make ourselves the priority in our own lives. And I also recognized for me that that was something that I struggled with greatly. And I knew that that was a result of a lot of the messaging that I had received throughout my life, through various institutions and venues and avenues that taught me that as a Black woman, in order to be seen as good, in order to be seen as valuable, I had to be self sacrificing. And I saw this as something very detrimental to Black women and girls, this way of thinking, this way of operating. And so I wrote the book. And I really wanted to come up with a way to help Black women undo this male centeredness. And I also wanted Black women to, more than anything, have a safe space. I feel like when we talk about male centeredness and patriarchy, it's either black or white, either you're a pick me or you're not, right? And that language, who wants to be called a pick me? So how do you invite someone to do the work to change when you're insulting them, when you're attacking them? And so I wanted to create a safe space for Black women to unpack and for us to recognize that we've all been indoctrinated into male centeredness, into the patriarchy, because us being self sacrificing benefits the patriarchy. So that's what the inspiration for the book. I hope that answered the question.
It did. Thank you so much. Hey, Deanne, you had question number one. Would you like to ask that? Can you hear me, Deanne? Auntie D? Now I can't hear you. I took you off mute. Did you mute yourself? I think you muted yourself. Oh, I see what she's saying. Okay. Um, yeah, you're right. We did incorporate that. Thank you. Um, there's something that you said that was really poignant that I want to have us to kind of follow up on how you were inspired to write Black woman centered love. Um, and you just explained it, and this was something I'm going to quote you from the book. You said her, meaning Black women, her identity is shaped by external perceptions, limiting her ability to explore. And I'm going to add this little piece right here. Um, and it's also limiting her ability to choose and dictate who she believes she is, and being able to embrace her infinite worth And then you said she's also limited in her ability um, to understand her intrinsic value. So you were saying too, to sustain itself, patriarchy employs specific tools that work in tandem to uphold dominance and enforce submission. Violence and imitation, which is enforcing compliance through physical, emotional, and psychological harm, economic subjugation, limiting access to wealth. There's a whole host of things that patriarchy means to us. But I'm curious because many Black women are taught to prioritize men, um, even at our own expense. So, um, Auntie D, did you want to have Love, Auntie Love? She's our guest Auntie Noir over here. Okay, um, um,
Okay.
talk about the 90 behaviors.
Yes. Okay. And y'all, pardon me. I just found out my computer has two mics, and sometimes they don't jive. But I think I got it. Can you hear me? Okay. Is there an echo? Okay. Okay. Good. All right. When you have stereos around sound, you don't even want it. Okay. So in your book, which I have read, like I said, it was a mind blowing experience. There are nine male centered behaviors, and there are five states of four or five states of being as a Black woman as we move toward liberation. Before we get into those steps, could you talk about the nine, I don't want to call them symptoms per se, but the nine indications of of male centered behavior so that we can get a sense of, okay, like I said, it's mind blowing because you start looking at yourself and you start looking at other people and you're like, wait, what? Wait, is that one of the behaviors? Go ahead and explain that to us. Because it was very deep to consider the world after getting these nine things in mind.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you so much. So, yes, in the book, I do identify 9 traits. I call them traits of male centeredness. And and at the end of each chapter, I give you a look at how that woman, whatever, depending on what that trait is, how she would operate within that trait, depending on where she is on the spectrum. So the first trait is she centers men, right? And before I say that, let me also say that these traits, these characteristics are not a blame game. It's not about pointing out and blaming, victim blaming. It's not about differentiating ourselves. Basically, I identified these traits because I saw them in all of the Black women that I interacted with. So we are all male centered. Start there. So we all exhibit these traits. Even men are male centered. In chapter 3, I talk a lot more about how male centeredness shows up in men, but it shows up a lot of the same ways that it does in women. So a male centered woman will center men. She prioritizes the needs, desires, wants of men. She competes with other women. The patriarchy relies on competition, right? And men benefit when women compete with other women instead of holding men accountable for the things they do. So this is why we talk about things like home wreckers and women, even with this whole the trend that just happened, the 21 and no kids, that created an opportunity for women to
Mm,
compete with other women. Now you
yes.
had women who were mothers competing with women who were not. And a man brought forth this song, right, that created the trend. So men are very strategic in ensuring that we're always competing because it serves them. So a male-centered woman will also exonerate men by blaming women. So we see this a lot, victim blaming. We see it in men. Choose better is a victim blame, right? Instead of holding men accountable, we blame the woman by saying you didn't choose right, right? That benefits men. And so the patriarchy has programmed and conditioned us and indoctrinated us to exonerate men by blaming women. A male centered woman will treat male children differently. Typically, she will coddle male children and adultify female children. I've seen a lot of this, especially as a child protective service worker, I've seen a lot of parents who adultify their daughters, make their daughters their co-parents, while their sons are not even responsible for cleaning up after themselves. Um, this is very common in our community. A male-centered woman is also homophobic. Um, she prioritizes heteronormative behaviors and actions, and so her thinking about what is masculine and what is manly aligns with patriarchy, and patriarchy is homophobic. So is she. She weaponizes male tactics. So a lot of the tactics that men use on women, women can't use on men, right? That wouldn't be a patriarchy if we could do the same thing. So what happens is we take those same tactics like gaslighting, deflecting, victim blaming, body shaming, all of the things that men do, and we weaponize them against other Black women and girls. So we call Black girls fast, we're anti-Black, we're colorist, all of those things. Let me calm down. I'm a little nervous, y'all. She consumes male-centered media. And again, think about this. The patriarchy needs you to do these things in order for it to sustain itself. And that's why the patriarchy goes out of its way to control our consumption. We see this with the TikTok ban. We see this going on with TikTok right now. America couldn't control what we were seeing, what we were consuming. And so they put these bans in place, and then the act, and it had all this censorship. Patriarchy needs censorship. It needs you to consume what they want you to consume. And so men control a majority of the media. And so you'll see a lot of women who listen to men's rap, men's music. You're watching men's movies. You're reading men's books. You're going to men for your preacher and your pastor, your religious service. You're just surrounded by the thoughts of men. And what does that do? That makes you even more male-centered. She's a abuse recruiter. And a lot of times this is intentional. If she believes that the what she's experiencing at the hands of men is acceptable, then of course she's going to think that you should accept that too. So if a man is being harmed, say, yeah, this happened, she's going to tell you to stick it out or stay for your family, or that's abuse recruiting. And then the last one, and this is a big one, she lacks empathy for women and girls. And I think one of the biggest things I want Black women to take away from that one is not only does she lack empathy for other Black women and girls, she lacks empathy for herself. So she's not able, you can't center yourself if you don't empathize with yourself, if you don't have empathy, if you don't understand your own humanity. And so a male-centered woman lacks empathy for women. A lot of times her empathy is reserved for men. So those are the 9 traits of a male-centered woman. And again, they're presented on a spectrum. I think you guys are going to ask me about that. I don't know if you want me to dive into it now, or did you want me to take a beat?
Hold on, let me see here, because that would be me. I'm supposed to come in on that, but I also am jumping in because I wanted to thank you so much for bringing up the recent thing that was going on TikTok around, because exactly that's why I said I'll be watching your content and like, yep, every single thing. Those are exactly the things that I was saying in the groups I was in. The fact that it started off of a man's song, there is that implanted subliminal, I call them landmines. So these are like psychic thing or things that are implanted psychically within us to install certain types of beliefs. And so it got activated by those women dancing to that song, because even if that wasn't their intention, and I don't believe it was their intention, but even if it wasn't their intention to like point the finger or poke at mothers and or single mothers specifically, it still does that by using that song, which the sentiment of the song was basically this woman is more desirable because she doesn't have children. And so that got activated and the women lashed out, even though those women were just like, hey, I'm celebrating me. I'm celebrating, the life I get to live because of my decisions. And it's not necessarily a negative towards you. So it really was an unfortunate chain of events. So I just want to say thank you so much for bringing that up, because that's a perfect illustration of what it is you're talking about and how even when it's not really an issue, it's still always potentially an issue. Um, so can you explain the 5 types of Black women behaviors depending on where they fall based on the behavioral patterns they display, especially as a pattern? Like an extremely male-centered woman compared to the predominantly male-centered woman.
Absolutely. So the 9 traits that we talked about, they help you figure out where you are on the spectrum. And so the spectrum is comprised of 5 different stages. Let me get my notes to make sure I'm right. 5 different stages. So the first one is the extremely male-centered woman, and she is going to exhibit all of those 9 traits. She's going to center men. She's going to treat female children differently than male children. She's like all the things. She's going to exonerate men by blaming women. She's going to be homophobic. She's going to exhibit all of those traits. She is not safe for the community. She is not safe for other Black women and girls. And she is deeply entrenched in patriarchy, and she replicates its values at every turn. So she embodies all these 9 traits. If a man walks out of his house, walks out on his family, she will say that the woman should have kept him happy. The woman has done something to make the man leave. She won't hold him accountable for abandoning his family. If her daughter is in a physically abusive relationship, and she comes to her and she discloses, hey, he's putting his hands on me, she's going to ask her, what are you doing to make him hit you? She's going to tell her to, work it out for the family. She's going to tell him he's just being a man. So she, in essence, she becomes dangerous for those reasons. Then you have the predominantly male-centered woman. She's going to exhibit 6 to 8 of the 9 traits. At this point, she starts to recognize patriarchy exists, but she still upholds it. So she still participates. She might blame women for men's harm. She might excuse abusive behavior by men. She might use different language when she talks about it. She might just, it might just boil down to men being men, right? She might accept that men are the problem, but not be able to go a step further and hold them accountable. In her mind, women are supposed to do whatever they can to avoid being a man's victim. So you shouldn't be out that late. What were you wearing? That type of mindset. And for that reason, she is also not safe for women and girls. Then you move into the disenchanted woman. And we see the disenchanted woman a lot, more times than we think. She's fully aware that patriarchy exists. She's absolutely frustrated with men, and she's starting to see through the lies. But her biggest barrier is her inability to connect with other women. She will still blame women for the harm that men do to them. So she'll recognize that men are harmful, but not enough to still hold them accountable. And another way you'll also recognize the disenchanted woman is because even though she's no longer dating men and she's no longer engaging with men, she will still give them all of her energy. So a lot of her time is spent talking about men and how horrible they are and how they're not good for you and how they did this and they did that. She's not self-centered yet. And she's not even aware that she needs to do the work to self-center. So for this reason, she becomes unsafe because, again, she's still blaming women. She's still not really fully holding men accountable, and she's still herself. Then you have the transitioning woman. This is where you get into safety. This is where the space becomes more safe because she's actively unlearning male-centeredness because she recognizes that she is male-centered. She catches herself in real time. She's doing the inner work, and she's becoming more accountable. She doesn't blame women. She starts to interrogate how patriarchy operates and how it influences us and shapes our thoughts. So she'll say things like, I used to judge women for being single mothers, but now I see how men leave and escape accountability. She may still slip, but she's correcting herself. Her biggest issue at this point is that she hasn't self-centered. Again, it's not enough to decenter men, you center yourself. So if you're transitioning and you haven't centered yourself, you might not center men anymore, but you might center your job or you might center your family, and you might still be self-sacrificing to those things, and you aren't the priority in your life. So while you are safe for other people, a lot of times you're not safe for yourself at this phase, right? You're not safe for yourself until you're self-centered. And that's the last phase. That's the liberated and self-centered woman. She's fully decentered men. She's dismantled male centeredness within herself, and she lives with self trust, community care, and radical self prioritization. She uplifts other women without competition or critique. She is a safe space for herself and for others. She does not compete. She doesn't shrink. She doesn't silence herself or other women. She builds her life around joy, rest, creativity, truth. She's not perfect, but she's free. And those are the five stages. And another thing I want to point out is that you can move back and forth along those stages, especially depending on how much work you do and don't do as you enter. You're always surrounded by patriarchy. There is no way for us to remove ourselves from this patriarchy. That's not our work either. Just like it's not our work to dismantle racism. We didn't create it, we can't end it. But we can make ourselves safe from it by centering and prioritizing ourselves. And the thing we also have to understand is that the tools of patriarchy, and I identify those tools in the book, they're always operating. They're always at play. They're always working to suck you back in to being male centered. So you can move anywhere along the spectrum, especially if you're not intentional about the work that you do. And that's the purpose of the book, to give you a guide to be able to do the work. And the guide is through the 9 traits. And that's going to help you identify. So let me just back up really quickly. The disenchanted woman, she's going to exhibit at least 3 to 5 traits of the 9. The transitioning woman, she's going to exhibit 1 or 2 traits. And then when you get to self-centered, you're not exhibiting any of the traits. And if you are, you're not expressing it outward. You're catching yourself before you're acting on those things. So I hope that answers the question.
No, absolutely. It definitely answers the question. And I'm so excited because, like, you can't see my face, but like, I'm super geek because I'm like, yeah, you ever meet somebody and you're just like, oh my God, they get it. Like, everything. Everything that you're saying, the way that you think, the way that you break it down, it reminds me. And I'm not trying to be presumptuous or anything, but like, it reminds me of my book. I'm like, no, exactly, this is exactly how your book is structured. My book is structured the same way. I'm talking, about a different thing and a different aspect of some of the same things, but the way you're like, no, I'm helping this person identify where they're at. I'm helping this person identify how they're being affected. I'm helping this person identify what it looks like in themselves and other people, and it is a guide to help them do the work. And so I'm just really excited I met you. Oh my goodness.
Tell me the name of your book so we know your book too, because I want to check you out.
My book is called Level Up: The Single Mother's Guide to Reclaiming Her Dignity. And
Okay.
I don't know, they don't let you send links and stuff on TikTok, but we have each other's TikTok. When everything is said and done, I'll get your information to be able to like talk to you and communicate with you and stuff, because I am just like so excited of how this is so aligned with the grander work of helping Black women and
Yes.
Black girls get free. Because I was just at, slight tangent, I was just at I'm in school and I was at an event yesterday, and they had women who worked in the field of like transitioning people back from incarceration. And so they were talking about like their organization, what they do and everything. And I was seeing that intersection between that experience, which I have never been anywhere close to having, but the things they were talking about experiencing within that. So these are girls and women and mothers dealing with the same traumas, dealing with the same rejections, dealing with the same victimization. And they just so happen to have gotten caught up so bad to the point where they wound up going to jail. And so I guess I'm seeing on the macro level how we all can come together, and help women just in a general sense, and actually removing those stigmas. Because a big part of why people are hurting so bad and unable to get the help those stigmas are barriers. Those stigmas are barriers against the people that could help helping. Those stigmas are barriers against the people that need the help, feeling worthy or asking for it or demanding it be given to a way that's dignified, so there's just so much going on.
One of the things I appreciate about this book, as I was reading through the 9 steps and the 5 different levels of Black women, I have a student who is a beautiful young Black woman I've known her since she was 11, and I watched her come into womanhood and male relatives when she was no longer a child. Just a very talented young woman who just could not be demoted to a slave for them. But what got to me was, and now I understand what I was looking at, the women were exhibiting the 9 traits and were very firmly in steps 1 through 3. So without having a guide for her to survive, 2 of us had to get to 4 and 5. But we spent a lot of other time arguing with a whole lot of other women who did not understand why they needed to support this young woman in her escape. She was considering unaliving herself under the abuse. And I'm like, are we gonna sit here and let this happen? The 2 of us that were able to pull it together didn't, and we even pulled in one man who was willing to assist in this. But now I understand. I spent a couple years angry with my fellow Black women because of this. But having read this book, I understand. Okay, wait, we were all socialized pretty much the same way. The difference is I didn't go through step 3 because the men in my personal life are decent individuals. And they had to leave because you talk about Black men and how they were socialized. They had to leave that socialization too. So I missed part of that step, but at the same time, most of the Black women I know have suffered much more. So they were just doing what they knew to do, which was to center the men, side with the abuser, and because they needed to maintain their place with Black men. No excuses, but now I understand it. And now I understand how so many of us are completely unsafe. I just, having read that book, was like, okay, now I can understand what I've been looking at for a bunch of years and why we got very close in my local community in letting another young Black woman buckle. Thankfully, her boyfriend was from a different community, still patriarchal, but just not as frustrated as Black men, able to see her talent and her beauty and the sweetheart that she has. And that family stepped in too. So it was a collection of things that happened. But now I understand what has happened to us to the point that we as Black women with the power that we have couldn't have solved this ourselves. Now I know. So that the next time it happens to one of my girl students growing up, I can be better and give them tools. And I appreciate that you laid this out so that we can all know where we are and why younger Black women can't trust some of us aunties, and why some of us aunties can't trust our great aunties, because we have not examined the behavior we're doing where we're literally tearing each other down on behalf of men that, in the main, do not care whether we live or die. The 21 and saying that to me, that made me sick. But I understood it was men attempting again to create competition between us. Having read your book let me understand, because I see that online. Like there's certain content creators who come out and talk. Even Felicia Rashad is being pulled into this. There's so many Black male content creators who are taking what she said and using it to have women fighting among themselves. It's like it's all over the internet right now. So I appreciate this book because it gave me the ability to understand, okay, I see what y'all are doing. Let me nip your little channels in the bud. Block, do not recommend, report when y'all get let me, and I see what you're doing now. Ain't no quarter over here. Back. Thank you for that. Because we didn't have a guide to even be able to look at what's going on. Now we have a guide to know, okay, now we see the traits that we ourselves need to work on. Now we can look at our fellow women and be like, okay, because of their conditioning, they're in a stepwise process. We can help those along that want to be helped. But if you're in a number 1, maybe we can't reach you just yet, but at least we can understand the trauma that got you there. Maybe we can understand, okay, when you get to step 3, here's something that can help you get back to the rest of the way. We didn't have that before. Now we do. And I thank you.
Let me get it together. Okay, I just wanted to say thank you so much. And I also want to say that this is the foundation. Like the hope is that we as a community build on this. You know, there may be other traits and other patterns that haven't been identified yet. If we can at least start the conversation, then we can start to explore these things and how they impact us and how they hold us back. So that's why it's so important to me that Black women engage with the book, engage with the content, and provide me with feedback. Because the other thing too is that, you know, as we've advanced as a people, so is technology, so is the way that patriarchy operates. And so there are going to be new tools and new things that they're going to be trying to implement to reel us back in as we come out of it. And so we're going to constantly, I think this is a constant work. The work of decentering is constant and perpetual. The work of self-centering is, and so is the work of being able to identify how these things operate.
I wanna jump in here too, because I also wanna highlight what you were saying about being kind and giving grace to the women that are in transition, because that has been a major point of discussion within this small community and like the various communities that are intersectional with this. That idea that we have plenty of content and creators to consume, but I'm starting to see a grander sentiment spreading of, I'm seeing it in more and more unrelated places, that Black women are saying, hey, yeah, I like that message, but I kind of don't like the way that person is talking to me. I kind of don't like the feeling that I'm getting about how that person probably would view me if we were to be in the same room together. There's so many things that we're waking up to exactly how we're being treated, because we're so used to just calibrating to what was available. And now we're recognizing, like, oh no, there's actually choices and there's different quality of things for me to choose from. And I remember, like, one of our Noir Aunties, Deeann, had said something. She asked me something and I said something about like people's palates. My palate is set for more nourishing fare than a lot of other people's palates are set to. And so I'm noticing people are kind of going like, that's a little salty. And that's encouraging for me.
I would definitely like to add to that because it is. And I think for me, so I've only been on TikTok for maybe like the last 2 years. I was a little late coming to TikTok. But the one thing that struck me was how many Black women are questioning and no longer just going along with and saying this doesn't sound right. And I've been so impressed with how many young Black women are waking up and recognizing, um even with the 21 and no kids thing, I saw Black women chiming in and saying, like, how are we letting them make us compete like this? And so just seeing the progress, I see the progress that we're making. I think about my mother. I talk about my mother in the book. I talk about how male centered she was. And I also recognize that my mother existed in a time where, in a lot of ways, being male centered was the only safety that she did have, right? We know that there was a time where women couldn't have bank accounts. We know that Black women were the last to get the vote. We know that these systems exist to hold us back. And those systems are still at play, but we're still progressing. My mother was extremely male centered. We had to, how we dressed around the house depend on whether a man was in it, how loud the music was, depending on whether my daddy was just getting off of work. The house catered to my father. And interestingly enough, when I was younger, I didn't recognize that my father wasn't even the man of the house. He wasn't the provider. He went to work, he did, but he couldn't sustain himself without my mother's contribution. And so you start to realize that, number one, Black women have always contributed, Black women have always worked, we've always been the backbone of the community, but we've never been able to be the face of the community. We've never been able to be the voice of the community or the leaders of the community. So I think that I think we're making a lot of progress. And I think we also, as we have this conversation, keep that in mind. I think just the mere fact that we're willing to have this conversation and recognize that, yeah, I'm male centered too. Or, yeah, I've seen this male centeredness. I've seen this in my family. I've seen this in my mother. It shows that we're making the progress and we're doing the work. And so I'm very honored to not only be a part of this and be a part of this platform and be able to sit amongst Black women that make me feel safe enough to articulate and communicate myself, but I'm really grateful even for the space that I found on TikTok. So and it's because of Black women, it's because of how you all make me feel safe. So I appreciate you all, and I think that that's the last thing I'll say. The one thing that Black women have always been denied, Black women and girls, is protection. And the world won't give us that, but we can give it to each other. We can give it to ourselves. We have a right to self protect. So I'll leave it at that.
I keep forgetting I gotta unmute to get here. Gosh, this is so wonderful. Every single solitary thing thus far is just wonderful. I'm so glad we're all here. Thank you, everyone that's in the chat, and for those of you who see it later, please, please, for your own sake, for the Black girls you know, please get Black woman centered. Please, okay, for your own self. Um, there are a few things, but y'all just hit it all so well, right? I I didn't have nothing to say. um, I wanna explore just for a second empathy. Okay. I love the way you did this about empathy, and why we must really look at how we display it when it comes to each other and Black girls and the femmes around us who are Black femmes, right? Um, and you said, well, let me reiterate something that you've been saying this whole time. And of course, Auntie D and Auntie Key hit on this as well. Just before I get into empathy, you said in your book, for centuries, Black women have been expected to sacrifice, serve, and endure for the comfort of others. But that cycle ends with us right here, all of you in the chat, all of you who are on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, uh, Instagram, Snapchat, wherever you're at. This is a reset for you because you deserve to thrive, okay, as Black women. So um we can choose to disrupt it by refusing to play the role society has forced upon us. That's something that you keep trying to tell us in your book. We're living by the rules of a patriarchy in our own head as Black women. Yes, we might be at level 1, we might be at level 2, we might be at level 3 or 4, or maybe even some of us have hit 5. But the reality here, and I want us to be clear, Black women, love is telling us to self study. So if you feel like you don't have the energy for it, Black women, girl, I ain't got time for that. I'm tired. I don't feel like looking stuff, self study. I know who I am, right? Don't I? Do I? I know who I am. Girl, self study doesn't have anything to do with everybody else around you. It isn't what that person didn't do or did do or whatever it is. That is about you studying your beliefs and behaviors. Because your behaviors, that's most all of us, our behaviors follow our beliefs. So whatever it is that you believe, whether you're conscious of it or you're unconscious or it's at the surface or you just don't go deep, whatever you believe, that's how you roll. And if you want to change how you roll, you are going to have to get some sort of motivation, whether it's intrinsically and it just flows from you, or it's extrinsically because you're tired of being treated like shit when you doing all this work and serving all these people, and therefore they every damn desire and miscreant mad badass behavior that they want to choose to have on us. We have to think about how we were conditioned and programmed. Admit to that. It doesn't have anything to do with blame, shame, or guilt. We all know I don't do blame, shame, or guilt. Okay, sometimes I do blame so I can blame other people, but that is I do that on purpose. Yeah. Okay. I can tell y'all that I'm not a good person because I know who I am. And if I were to sit here and go, oh, but I'm a good person and blah, 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 and yada, yada. Really, what I'm trying to say is all y'all need to agree that I'm a good person no matter what the fuck I do and how I mistreat other people. Okay? I'm telling you all for real. I don't adhere or go by the rules of patriarchy. And Black women, you're going to have to start looking at how you're going by the rules of patriarchy, because that's what love is trying to tell us here. We're doing the same damn thing. Oh, it might be watered down from racism to colorism, but it's the same fucking thing, and we're doing it to each other. And it has to stop. And it definitely has to stop with us doing it to ourselves, because we believe what other people who literally hate us, who literally have been at war upon our bodies, at least in these United States, for 460 years. Okay. And so we're supposed to follow what they think or they feel about us. Love is giving you step by step what you can do, because it's going to change everything. Listen, I'm going to be honest with you, Black women. Girl, I'm cool. I'm cool. Yeah, people do walk up on me and they do the same thing to me that they do to any other Black person. Well, they try it, okay? But what they get in return is because I've given myself options. Yes, I have dark sisters and now I carry two. So a year and a half ago when I told y'all, when y'all see me, stop, drop, and roll because your ass is on fire, and then get your ass up and run in a zigzag. You can't even run in a zigzag anymore because my game is up. Now I got two. Zigzag ain't gonna help you now. Love is trying to help us to understand that we need to give ourselves bigger, better, more joyful, healthier, balanced. We need to give ourselves this gift. We need to give ourselves the gift of more options to choose from, not just what these people say we can have. Oh, I just want to be equal. Girl, I ain't around here asking nobody, can I be equal? Equal to who? Y'all? I don't fucking think so. White women? Legion? Girl, the crossroad demons, you talking about the same ones that sell and rent souls? Girl, I ain't gonna never be equal to these hookers, ever. No, I'm not trying to do that. No, I don't give a damn what a man thinks. Since when? Why would it possibly matter to me what a man thinks or feels? But I tell you what, and I tell that motherfucker too, you best not act on some stupid shit. Because we always got the lights on over here. I got red dots, I got blue and green too. My phone number, since y'all like to walk up on black women and try to force us to give you our phone number or else, mine is 9MM380. So try me. Come through. Don't talk about it, sweetie. Be about it. Give me something that I got to tell the Pope, allegedly. But black women, if we don't give ourselves the options to decide that we're no longer going to believe in patriarchy and the shit that it puts down for to violate, specifically violate black women, black girls, and our children, girl, what is we doing? You best go get Black Woman Centered and get to reading, sissy. Get to reading. Get your note, get your pen out. Start analoging. Take it, analyze what love is telling you. Look, unzip your skin and look at the bloody pulp beneath. Because this isn't about every other black woman. This is about you. And where you at? And are you being harmful?
And are you being willing to be accountable for wherever you may happen to be? I think that, oh, there's an echo.
I'm gonna shut down. I'm sorry. Go ahead, babe.
Okay. Okay. We're getting this. We're getting it together. You said something very important. Love Mia, because that love up there. You said something. Love Maya. Excuse me. You said something very important. As tools continue to advance, we have to be able to master these tools for ourselves. As patriarchy keeps creating tools that it wants to use, we have to get. So we're getting there on here. One of the hardest things about Confidence with Love's courses and your book, they're very similar. If you are not willing to take responsibility for your life, both of those are going to be difficult. I welcome reading that book because all my black girl students are coming back to church now as 20 somethings. And they're coming back because I'm still there and they know I'm still a safe person. But because I didn't have a guide, there's a lot of like reading Level Up Single Mom's book opened my mind to things I didn't even know were going on because that's not my experience. Listening to Auntie Love opened my mind up to experiences I didn't have either. So it's just like, okay, your book is another way to equip us as long as we read it with the mind that we have to be accountable for what we find out. As a Christian who's still in church, that poses some very deep questions about me, my church, the church community. It explains why I don't deal with 99.99%, but at least we're in a church where the women have their own ministries. And Dr. Desi Webster, my grandmother's black woman teacher, is up on the wall, so everybody knows the contributions have to be acknowledged. And she taught so many black men and women who are teachers at that church. But still, you still got to go through the steps and you have to be accountable for what you find. You have to be accountable for whatever compromises you are and are not making. That's not a book that we read just to say we read it. I know that the little black girls who I used to know 20 years ago are now grown women. And some of them have children of their own and they're going through things I learned were very, very difficult for them on Level Up Single Mom. So how do I support them? The ones who are not, who basically kind of followed my pattern of being single and not connected to a man that way, that's still a set of choices that they're being judged on. And they're at the ages that the manosphere really tries to pressure them. So then how do I support them? How do we talk about, okay, these are things you need to know. These are things you need to know. You've come back to your old church. Well, there's things about how church is structured that you need to understand as well and make decisions that I didn't know I had at your age. This is a book that demands that you account to yourself. It's another form of self-centering to, okay, this is the situation. These are the things I have to choose from. I can now see, okay, this is where I am. Where do I want to go? And then how do I do the work to get there? It's a lot. like Auntie Love's courses are mind blowing in the same way. But if we're going to be free, freedom takes a tremendous amount of responsibility. And so your book is another tool to help us get there. And I'm thinking those who are, this uh, step 3, step 4, step 5, and this would be ideal for people who no longer want to be just disenchanted but start to move. So you get from step 3 to step 4. For those who know that there's further they can go, you get step 4 to step 5. That's not necessarily the majority of Black women at this particular moment, but I do see a move because since the election in particular, and also Samantha Marion called 9mm 380. She went home, PASA, and I'm gonna give credit to Madam Whipass, the Black woman who said PASA rhymes with massa for a reason. PASA didn't go home because Samantha Marion chose Samantha Marion to go home. The man she was with could not defend her. He got knocked down and had a concussion. So she had to defend her. She was male centered and had to defend on him. She's dead, probably. She chose to go home. She realized that was an option. That's an extreme case. But when you look at what happens to Black women every day, well, maybe not. She chose not to be in the 4 to 5 women that don't get home every day. She chose Samantha Marion. And people knowing that this is an option and being able to think through the fact that, yeah, I might have to leave a Black man in his blood, but I'm choosing me, is a process that a lot of people who are exhibiting a lot of those traits, a lot of people who are step 3 and below, would not have been able to even conceptualize as an option. And like I said, that's a grim situation that we wish on no Black woman. But Samantha chose herself and went home. And we need to understand and be accountable for the fact that choosing us is literally choosing to save our own lives versus a system that does not want us to do this. It was very moving. And then going back and looking at some recent situations based on that, based on your book, really gave me a deeper understanding of the processing that has to go on for Black women to get there. But again, it's not something you just read and be like, okay, I understand it. No, you have to hold yourself accountable. You have to sit with yourself and be like, okay, where am I honestly? What can I work on? Um, the life decision that I'm making, is it moving me this way down the scale or this way up the scale? It's not something you can encounter and be the same. And we need that so that we can at least choose to get out of the first 3. I really appreciated that. It gives me a way to look at the stuff we talk about online all the time, and also to recognize women. I'm just going to throw this out there, to recognize women who are safe to collaborate with to do things just like this so that we can build more safe capacity. Because now, like I said, I understand why a lot of Black women that I know are not safe. Now I understand it and can look at it with empathy for, okay, I understand what's going on. I understand the traits that you're doing. You've been damaged. You have trauma. And if you're significantly older, you honestly didn't have many good choices because you said something very important. We've only been able to have bank accounts for 50 years. So you didn't know that you had to. I'm not going to repeat some of the things that you shared in the book, but I'm just like the decisions that your mother felt she had no choice but to make relative to you and others in that household. To imagine her not even knowing that there was another way, and to be able to look at that, and you handled it with such grace. To be able to understand the plights that Black women are in, and to be, we have tools and means so that when you are ready, this doesn't have to happen to your granddaughters. Um, it was very deep to see that. But let me turn the floor over because I know we're going to invite you back. We're going to invite you back. We're going to invite you back. But let me move on. I know we have some other questions that things we wanted to discuss. But holding oneself accountable, that's a book for Black women who are ready to be accountable to themselves, not the men in their lives, but to themselves. That's a necessity to get the most from it.
Now, I know that Auntie Key has to go at around 7. So let me just bring up, I'm going to read really quick what you wrote on empathy.
Well, really, before you do that, I wanted to just say something to piggyback off of what Deann was saying about the accountability part. I say all the time on my platform that accountability is a tool and not a weapon. Not a weapon. And so, it is important. And I also talk about points of reference. Like people can't really do what they haven't seen done. They can't conceptualize. So I also want to commend you for being able to demonstrate um, what it is that you are talking about, your ethic in action, and that is uh the best way I found to be able to like help people through that process. So a lot of people think like you got to yell at people or browbeat people and shame them into change, but it's actually like not only saying, "Oh, this is what you need to do," but also being able to demonstrate what it looks like, what it feels like. So I just want to commend you, and again, I'm so happy to have found someone else who is like minded and also able to have that ability to articulate those experiences and those feelings.
I knew you two were going to be just two peas in a pod. I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait for y'all to meet each other. I was so excited about today, girl. Oh my goodness. Let me read this really quick, and then I, I I will love you. You go ahead and talk about it. So empathy, you say in your book, which is true. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person, right? And you go on to say it's about putting yourself in someone else's shoes and imagining their experiences, emotions, or perspective, even if you haven't lived it yourself. Empathy often involves two key components. The first component that you give is cognitive empathy. This is what I would term, me personally, I would term like learned behaviors, right? So you can be taught how to empathize, right? From childhood or as adults, you can be taught how to empathize, what it looks like when one person can empathize with another person. So it is a behavior in that aspect, the cognitive empathy, um, you know, learned behaviors, understanding someone else's thoughts and feelings intellectually. Okay. And then there's the second one, the term, use the term emotional empathy. I see that one as being an empath. Because the way you describe it, or the way it's, you know, the definition, feeling or connecting to someone else's emotions on a deeper and emotional level. When I'm saying to us as Black women that 70 to 85% of us as Black women, Black femmes, Black girls are born empaths, that means we have the ability to feel the feelings of other people unbidden. And a lot of times what happens is we don't even know that's what's going on with us. We're feeling our own feelings plus that of other people, particularly those we're close to, right? And you can go from Black woman to Black woman and you'll hear them say to one another, girl, you was just on my mind, you was just on mine. We have those abilities because we truly can connect that deeply as Black women, Black girls. And that's why I say, one of the reasons I say we're goddess born, right? But it's also, goddess born is a change in language, because we're so used to other people deciding for us, oh, now we're going to call you baby mamas, and today we're going to call you DEI, and the next day we're going to be called, girl, how about you call me by my damn name first of all? Second of all, how about you don't call me at all? That would do even better. And I think that people have been confusing what we are generally as Black women with what they're attempting to do as somebody learning how to be and to be empathetic. It's like learning how to be romantic. Just because you see it done doesn't mean you feel romantic or you understand the feelings that it may elicit from someone else. So, yes, um, I think we have to really get that straight in the sense of exactly what you're talking about, love in the book, which is we as Black women in particular have been conditioned and programmed to believe that we're nothing, and by association, other Black women, Black girls are nothing too. And then like we've said, you've said, you pointed out very clearly, patriarchy needs these certain things. And um how how are we looking at patriarchy? What we need to divest, the parts of patriarchy, all of it, as far as I'm concerned, but the rest of us, okay, what we need to divest from, right? um and how we can be empathetic, go ahead and open ourselves up to our own feelings of interconnectedness with one another so that we can have a heart for one another. So, what say you, love?
Okay, I've been listening for a while, so I got a lot of thoughts. So I'm gonna kind of circle back just a little bit, if that's okay. Uh-oh, I hear echo. You hear the echo? Okay. So first of all, in chapter 2, there's a preface, and that's the only chapter that has a preface. And it has a preface because in that chapter we go into talking about how these identities have been forced onto Black women. We talk about what those identities are. We talk about the mammy, the mule, the martyr, the Jezebel, the sapphire. We talk about the welfare queen, all of these, the strong Black woman trope, all of these archetypes. We talk about anti-Blackness, misogyny, all of these systems that the Black woman interact with. And the most important thing I want Black women to take away from that conversation is that these systems don't exist because people hate you. And I talk about this in the book. I talk about whiteness. Whiteness desires to have what you possess. Whiteness envies you. It resents you. And so it's created these systems to keep you in service to whiteness so that you never recognize your own potential and your own power and your own greatness, right? So it's important that as we have these conversations, we understand that these systems were constructed intentionally to oppress us, to suppress us, and to stop us from tapping into our greatness. Um, and when we talk about accountability, I've heard that word a lot. I love that word. In the book, there are 3 core stages. We look at awareness, and you talked about that a little bit earlier, Auntie Love. You have to be self-aware. You have to be able to, when you read this book, I want you to think about you. I don't want you to think about the other women in your life. I don't want you to be rating other women, putting other women on the scale, on the spectrum. I want you to be putting you on the spectrum. It's really about you being aware of how you operate and how male centeredness shows up in you. And then we move through unlearning and accountability, right? And so, in order to, like you said, D, you said, this isn't really a book you read to say you read, right? You read this book when you're ready to do some work, when you're ready to do some unlearning, when you're ready to have your perspective challenged, and when you're open to having your perspective challenged. And once you can do that, then you'll get to the point. We talk about empathy, we talk about intersectionality, which helps us create empathy. In the book, I talk a little bit about how we've been convinced that relatability is empathy. If you see someone going through something you've been through, and you can uh understand what that's like for them, we assume that's empathy. That's not empathy. Empathy is actually when you can feel something for someone, you can imagine what that is like for them, what they're going through is like for them, when you can't relate, when you've never been in that situation. And so we have to keep that in mind as we approach ourselves. We have never been in a situation where we've been self-centered. So if you don't know how to exhibit empathy, except for when you can relate to a situation, you're not going to be able to get to the place where you can center yourself enough, where you can have enough empathy for yourself to center yourself. So I talk about empathy a lot in the book. It's not just about you having empathy for women, other Black women, other Black girls. It's about you for yourself. Even as you go through the process and you're reading, especially chapter 2, it's a very long chapter. It's talking about all these systems that are designed to oppress us and keep us down. You have to have empathy for yourself. You have to have the compassion for yourself to be able to say, these things were not fair. I should not have had to go through these things. And the other thing is, like, I think when I was doing the work of male centeredness, and I slip in and out of this, where I get mad at myself for how much I've allowed my male centeredness to take from me or keep me away from. You have to have empathy for yourself to be able to move past that, anger, and to get to a space where you are loving to yourself. You are all the things to yourself that you've tried to be for other people. And the last thing I'll say is, when we talk about male centeredness is not just about romantic relationships. You can be male centered and be a gay woman, a lesbian, a bi. Like you cannot even date men at all and still be male centered, because we live in a male centered world, right? You might center the men's. I've met many lesbian women who centers men's authority, who think that a thing isn't valid unless a man co-signs it, who thinks that men's position and their control over women is validated and necessary. So I've met lesbian women who reinforce a lot of this stuff and how they interact with other women. So male centeredness is not, when you look at it, I think it's important for you to recognize that just because you are no longer interested in dating men doesn't mean that you've decentered men. Decentering men is it's more, it's a lot more work, because male centeredness is ingrained in us. We're indoctrinated into it. We're conditioned and programmed to center men. So yeah, I think that's the last thing. I had wrote some notes. I think that was the last thing. I hope that made sense. But it's very important, when you read this book, I want you to really think about you and how these traits show up in you. And I think too, also, this is the last thing I'll say. When you talk about the traits, a lot of times we'll look at it from a very extreme perspective. Like if I say she centers men, you're thinking of some woman who, her man gets the big piece of chicken, he gets fed first, and it's not always, it doesn't always look like that. Male centeredness has evolved as we have evolved. And so, it is in, for example, I made a post earlier, and we're having a conversation about fatherless parents, which is my preferred term as opposed to single moms. And a Black woman came into the comments and she said, well, Black women should just stop having their babies. Well, now you've put in the responsibility on Black women. That benefits men, right? If you say that the problem with single motherhood is that Black women should stop having babies, now you've exonerated the man and he's no longer a part of the conversation, and you've placed all the responsibility on Black women. That's how insidious male centeredness is. It could make you think, I mean, that sounds like it makes sense, right? I tell Black women all the time, do not have their babies, do not cohabitate with them. But it's different when we're having a conversation intended to hold men accountable, and you offer this, which now takes the focus off the man and puts it on the woman. You have exonerated men by blaming women. And so that's really the goal of the book, to help you understand all of the different ways, all of the sneaky little ways that male centeredness operates in our life, if that makes sense.
Auntie
Sorry.
Love, are you sure? Okay, got it.
I forget where the button is. Okay. Um, I, I'm, I, gosh, there's just so many thoughts in my head, and it's all important because it's all
Well,
your book, and I'm telling you, I can't keep writing every single little thing. I got so many colors in my book right now. I done highlighted every. I got notes upside down,
aw,
taking stuff places. Okay, listen, love. I'm not spending another week. Okay, behind Black women's.
well, let me okay, so let me just say this. I do, and I also have the other questions too that you gave me. But I did want to say this. You all know that I started a course for Black Women Centered. I did 3 lectures, and then I kind of hit a wall. And one of the reasons is because I'm still going through the process of decentering. I talk about how I kind of pivot between self-centered and transition. I'm somewhere in between there. And so sometimes the work gets hard for me. So I've actually been thinking about doing a like a book reading club, or like a study somewhere where we get together and we do the work together. So I've been thinking about that, and I wanted to know, like, does that resonate? Like, do you think you all would have time, maybe once a week or once a month, I don't know how frequently, but to get together and just discuss some of the things we've read and we talked about and experienced as a result of the book, as opposed to the lecture where I'm just talking at people and not really getting any feedback or engagement.
Oh wow. Well, let me think, love. Mm. Let me think if there's a place that you could come and we could just all get together, and then we could commiserate around Black woman centered and just talk it through
Mhm.
and get that.
Just
Where did you go? Let me think. Oh, hmm. Couldn't be disciplined, could it?
okay, so we need to make that happen. I think that's a good idea. I think that's where we're going to take the direction of the course, until I can get past this blockage. But I also, if you want the last 2 questions that you guys had for me, did you want me to just jump into
I
those?
do because I want this was my diabolical plan to begin with, okay? Because all of you as Black women, like, well, that's I can't say all of us, all right, because we do have some seriously um male identified folk, okay, and y'all can't come. Sorry. No, I'm not doing that. And I also don't allow any other groups of people other than Black women, femmes, and eventually Black girls once we start getting things more situated. But we vet because I have to keep the environment safe, and these groups are very unsafe for us, right? So we vet out
Mhm.
Black women who are not a fit either, because I ain't gonna be doing all that. Okay, and I don't want any of you. So that's why you have the feel of, like, say this, or even me on TikTok. You'll see me like go off on, like, I'll find a troll. They don't come by often anymore, but dang, when I want to have a little fun, like a little troll bisque, I'm like, oh, we got one, Black women, we got one. Let's do them up. So that's where we are. That's where we're at, love. I've been trying to get you, Michaela. Michaela, talk to your aunt. Talk to your auntie love over here. Now she want to act
She
brand new. I
talked
ain't
to me.
even gonna.
She be giving
I
me.
can't even, I'm not even looking at you because you know you should have been over in. I can't with this.
I'm working on. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be better. Just be patient with me. Just be patient with me. Just give me a little love.
That's this is where we're getting to know each other. We're getting to get with each other, and we have two. Actually, we have two separate things that we have going on, but one feeds into the other, and the other feeds back into that one. All of them are safe. As far as I don't let people be coming through and doing all that at all. And of course, we're all very powerful Black women. I want us to really get into that power, you know? Oh, level up had to go. Love you too, level up. Thanks,
You should have
sweetheart, for
dropped
being.
down.
But all of us are in there, love, just waiting on you. We just wait. We was just waiting for
Okay.
you.
Okay, I got you. I'm gonna show up then. I'm gonna show up.
And you get to, let me tell you something. No one's gonna be directing you or anything like. You get to decide where you want to go. You get to do your own try. Just get it acclimated. Each one of the Black women have gotten acclimated. They do take the class also because becoming a self-confident woman. But I do think we need to really consider that your book needs to be one of those things that we all have to have under our belt, um,
Right.
and read in order to be in our group. So I'll talk more with the core about that. But you
Okay.
are already in the matriarchic think core, Miss Ma'am. I'm just saying.
I'm in there. I'm in a dictionary. I be peeking. I don't talk, but I be looking. Yeah.
And you decide what you're gonna do with your. If you want to set up classes, you set up classes. You know me, I'm the one who pushes you. You doing what? You better have you a copyright. I better see a TM. I better. Girl, I
See,
don't want no
I,
messing with none of y'all. Don't even try. I want everybody to have their own. You know what I'm saying? So
yes.
you will decide what you do with your book, your classes, how you roll. And as we talk, if it ends up that you're good with us making that a part of being even in our group, then I'm down. But I think those are things we can talk about, and I
Absolutely.
think
I would love to
you
talk
get
about
to,
it.
yeah, you get to do that. And I also think that once you get used to Discord a little bit, I am more than willing to help you open up your own Discord specifically for your book. You still do everything you want to over in our Discord, but you
Hmm.
also want to be pulling in just so they don't get confused. Well, see, everybody
Yeah.
can't come there, and so you will have those discords to put things past the rest of us, those types of things. If you decide you want to build a certain infrastructure, let's say because you're an educator as well, that you wanted to build a curriculum for, I don't know, third graders, you could. What you would do is I would have you copyright that under your name or your project group's name, and then y'all could take it and monetize it. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Like,
It sounds intimidating, but it makes sense.
does it sound intimidating? Because in my head, it
A
sounds
little
like,
bit.
oh, flowers and the veil and lollygagging. and hanging out. That's just in my head. Okay. All right.
Okay,
Let's
I
remember
wish.
our saying.
But
So,
remember, you don't have to do it alone.
no.
You don't
Yes.
have to do it alone.
Yes.
It is intimidating if you have to do it alone. Like, and black women being asked to do enough already, you don't have to do it alone. I'm just going to just mention that I can hand walk you through your copyright process.
Oh wow.
That's
Okay.
one of my specialties.
Okay.
So, and one of the
Okay.
meetings that Love and I are in tomorrow about taking the things that Level Up Single Mom has done and doing a handbook, and that we're also going to make available to other Black women who have been properly vetted, who are not distributing them, who are not displaying the nine trades, obviously. But you know, the beautiful thing. I mean, content creator Stephanie Perry and our fellow Project
I
You
follow Stephanie.
attendee, they have been talking a great deal about we're doing these things in community. So it is intimidating if you feel like you have to do it by yourself. Naturally, that's a lot. But there are
Mm-hmm.
people in our Discord already who will be able to provide you whatever support you see fit that you need. Since you're going to center and prioritize your needs, just let us know. If we don't have it, we'll try to go find it. But
Okay.
look, it would be if you have to, we're gonna like, hey, do all this back. We just dumping a couple things, boom, on your desk. No, that ain't how we roll. That's not how we roll. So
Okay.
it is a lot, but we're Auntie Love sees the end from the beginning. I'm more of the okay, there's like 15 steps, but I'm gonna be with you for 15 steps. And there's people of various
Okay.
styles. So don't feel no type of way because I'm sitting up here like, okay, a book club, this will allow people to not feel like because again, that book is going, you're gonna be sitting there like, wait, what? Wait, hold on. So this is why Mrs. So and so was doing this. Wait, well, what about? Wait, hold on. It's a lot, but if
It's
we do it in community, then we hold each other's hand and we help each other move forward. Because we are so empathic and connected, it's very difficult for us to always have to do things alone. We're doing it because we have no choice sometimes, but I don't think we are designed to operate like that. If you look at our African history, and Auntie Love can go much further back than I can, but you look at how the Mende women worked together, for example, how when they came here, they were braiding plates and maps and all the rest of each other. That's a collective process. That's not something a black woman had to do alone. This is black women under terrible circumstances still coming back together to quilt and at least some of your Negro spirituals that have all these different hints. That's a collective movement. So we're not gonna leave you by yourself. It is a lot, but we're here for it.
Well, I appreciate that. I love that. I love that for me. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's where we've been, you know, we kept going, when's love coming? When's love coming? Okay. Um, um, I think I, I think I want to make sure that we press it again. Just what you said, that the traits that you talked about, that you created the spectrum, and the nine different behaviors that we see, um, that we need to, as individual black women, not go around with a list and putting it up to other black women. Okay, let me see now. Which ones are? Do you have six or eight of the? Because you
Right.
acting a pure fool right now. I'm gonna be over there with my cousins. Girl, Love said this right here. Oh, girl, that's all you. I knew it. I knew it. Okay. I'm just so glad that Love put it into just so you could just see the list of shit you be doing. Okay. But okay, that's not what it's for, black women. It's so you can
It's
look.
for self-diagnosis.
Yes, it's for self-diagnosis, right? This is as Love said. Okay. And it's about self-study. So when we keep talking about accountability, we're not talking about that you're not accountable already for a million other things. Here's what we said: let go of all that male nonsense and bring your energy back over here so you can center you and work on the ways in which you are male centered or male
Hmm.
identified. Okay, because we all
Yes.
grew up here, just like I say about Mr. White Privilege over here, my husband. Yeah, nice white guy, love him. And what's your point? Bend the knee, put my money in the bank. Also, this is a matriarchy. I raised both of my children in that before I met him, and it's still a matriarchy. So we all bend the knee to who? My ass and my goddess born daughter.
Amen to that.
Simple. Yeah. And so you can live with whoever you choose to live with or be married to or not or whatever. Consenting adults, I don't care what y'all do. But
You know,
but
I'm
don't
glad
have
you mentioned that.
to do it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I feel like a lot of Black women think that being self-centered means that you can't date men or be with men or love men. I would argue that the only women that should date men or engage with men are women who are self-centered. That is the only way you make sure that it doesn't become a male-centered situation. You have to be the priority in your life. And the other thing I'll say is that, yeah, when we talk about accountability in the book, we're talking about being accountable to yourself. Um, a lot of times, we hear Black men a lot saying, "Be accountable, be accountable." Black women are never accountable. They want you to be accountable to them. They want you to be punished by them. That's not what our accountability. That's not what the kind of accountability we're talking about in the book is. We're talking about being accountable to yourself and for yourself. So yeah, self accountability. Yes.
Trying to find this unmute button. Okay. I'm glad that you mentioned that, of course, from a different perspective, because I'm single and not planning to change that. But I look over the men that I do love in my life, and I'm looking at the fact that these are Black men who understand the necessity to honor women. Like my father was always like, well, he's lived a very long time. And he's like, well, what I see is Black women are holding up the community. So it's not my job to try to take over where obviously because my mama, my grandmama, my great grandmama, that's what I see. It's safe to love him because he does not always assume that. I mean, he is a Black man still, and he's culturated. He's 88, so he's acculturated 1930s, 1940, but he's just kind of watched and observed how things have worked. It's safe to love him because he does not think he knows everything because he's the man. He's learned that that's not how that works. Of course, now having my mom as his wife and me as his daughter, if he forgets, we'll remind him that respectfully, that is my dad. But he was doing something this morning. He had to leave early, but he signed his letter. He said, "I've got this to take care of, this to take care of, and when I get back, I'll take care of this." Signed, y'all servant. He understands the point of being the servant leader. So
No,
I'm just
that's
kind of
right.
like, I saw that this morning and I said, well, Dad, you're a Christian too. And I know that you understand that the greatest among you is the servant. He laughed because he knew that I knew what he was saying. But he's done this. The 45th wedding anniversary is this year. I'm not married because I can't find at the moment. I'm not looking to be found by at the moment because I just look like there's not that many men who are cultivated to understand that they don't get to just show up and have a penis and be the leader. There's not that many people not trying to establish, I'm going to go a step further than patriarchy, a plantation in their home. Because in my age group, mid 40s and early 50s, they're literally saying that's what they want to do. So it is possible, I'm certain, because I got this way Auntie Love over here, who is happily married. I don't see Mr. White Privilege complaining. Their house is beautiful. They're prosperous. It's working for them. Um, Auntie Love's daughter is the person who has probably made more of information that people have come to her through her mom and is the right person to be leading that household when Auntie Love transitions because she stays on top of stuff. or not if she chooses not to do that. But I'm just saying, who works the hardest to learn what's going on? That would be my aunt, her daughter. So that fits her for leadership because she's doing the service of learning and the self study. And of course, she's raised by Auntie Love, but she had to choose those things for herself. So I already know ain't no man gonna come over there and get into that young woman's life who does not understand what the situation is. Because that phone number 9MM380 gonna be called. So just I heard something. I just this is what I heard. Allegedly. There's a spit and you could be put up upside down and be skinned if you mess with my eye. And that again is an extreme option. But when I think about, what happens to my black girl students who have now become young black women, I'll be like, Aunt Love, can you ship that out here real quick? Because I'm gonna just need you to send an express mail. I'm gonna need that for something. We're not gonna talk about what it is, but you and I know each other a long time. We know. But that's sort of where we have to get to in order to protect. I'm wondering, and I want to just put this question to you. Um, it's part of the accountability question, but again, for ourselves, not versus everybody else. Because we have black men out here. The whole Umar Johnson situation with his daughter. They clearly don't care about their children at all. But it's one of the reasons I'm single too, because I'm just like, my dad was there for his wife and daughters in ways that y'all do not even understand. Y'all could not lick his boots on a day that he had gone out because there was no one available. We had a sewer backup. He went out and cleaned it up so we wouldn't have to walk through that. Y'all could not lick that man's boots on that day, to say nothing of my mom's shoes or mine. But you just can't. You don't even understand this. But in terms of ourselves, is love of our children something we can use to motivate ourselves to self accountability? I didn't see that specifically addressed in the book, but it seems to follow logically from, it's not just me that I have to learn this material for. It is now I'm watching if I don't learn this, because that's part of what helped me. If I didn't even know what I needed to learn, but I wasn't gonna let my student get so down that she didn't feel supported and was going to leave here. So, not having the book, this is something that was helpful to me. I didn't see it mentioned specifically as I can remember, but it's just like, can we use our, is loving our children part of what we can use as fuel to help us to center ourselves and to leave this other foolery alone?
So I like this question. I think that we have to we have to be careful because that can be another way that we self-sacrifice. For me, for a long time, it was hard for me to see my male centeredness because I gave up romantically on men way before I gave up on men in my family, men in my community. And one of the men that was the hardest for me to take a step back from was my son. And I didn't realize how much self-sacrificing I was doing, how much labor I was doing for his benefit. And I didn't realize how much of that labor he felt entitled to as a black boy. And I also felt obligated to give that labor to him because I'm his mother, right? You want to be a good mother. Um, I would say that your children shouldn't be your motivation, um, because that's just another way of you decentering yourself, right? And so that's why I
Okay.
talk about, once you decenter men, if you don't do the work to self-sacrifice, you'll just put something else in the place. So now the work that you're doing is not about you, right? And so if it's not about you, it you won't recognize how you've self-abandoned or how you're putting that child or prioritizing your child over you. You should be the
Okay.
priority in your life. And this is something that I think a lot of black women have a hard time hearing because we're always taught that, you should want to be a good mother, and you should. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but your children shouldn't come before you. Um, in the sense of, your well-being and your health, because you are a better parent when you are self-centered and you are prioritizing yourself and you are taking good care of yourself. And you also want to model being self-centered for your children. You want to produce children that are self-centered, and the only way you can really do that is by modeling self-centered behavior. um And so, yeah, it's interesting. Um, I wasn't able to write this book until after I was able to fully e- examine my relationship with my son. Um, and again, recognize all of the ways that I had been self-sacrificing in under the guise of being a good mother. Um, and I think that motherhood is one of those ways that we as women in general, but especially Black women, struggle to self-center. I think that we think that if a lot of us will identify ourselves by our motherhood and that becomes our identity. That's not about you. Being a mom is not who you are. It's not, it's not your full identity. It's a part of who you are. Um, and again, if you want to, especially if you have girls, if you want to model for them how to be self-centered, how to prioritize themselves, you got to do it first. um and so, like, even like when I talk about any kind of love, romantic love, paternal love, family love, for your parents, in all of those situations, we should still be able to be self-centered, and the people that we care about should want that for us, and they should also be self-centered too. Like, if we all put on our own mask and ensure that our well-being was sustained and we're responsible for ourselves, then I think that we live in a totally different world. We've been taught to be self-sacrificing so much in so many different ways, especially as women. We do the emotional labor, we do the domestic labor, we do the unseen labor almost everywhere we go, in every space we show up. So it's time for us to, to put that energy back into ourselves. So yeah, I definitely think that, you can't, if you're a mom, you should love your children. Not never am I saying that, but I'm saying that you should be the priority in your life. You'll never see a man prioritizing anyone above himself, not even his children. And you shouldn't. You should prioritize you, and you should teach your children to prioritize you. So I hope that answered your question.
It does. It wasn't directly discussed. As someone who doesn't have children, I have students who are now bringing me their kids. So I'm now, what, a grand teacher? These are my grandchildren, grand students. My mom is seeing her great grand students now. So I don't have the experience as a mom per se, but there are situations in which, because I am more focused on them as human beings than their own mothers were able to be for various reasons, the relationships are interesting. So there are a lot of things like, don't I hear what you're saying about continuing to sacrifice for your son, but I don't have that kind of tie with any of my Black boy students who are now not that tight. But on the other hand, they've known me long enough to know,
Right.
if you step to Miss Deeann with the foolery, she doesn't care. You can be 6'8", 9, 10, 11, 12. You about to be 3'1". We're not gonna do this. But I didn't have that child on my breast, and I didn't carry that child in my uterus. So it's a different
Mhm.
relationship. So I'm asking questions because
Right.
I don't have the experience to know how certain things happen, but I'm so glad that women who do have these experiences are willing to share with me, so then I can go to my younger students who are having these experiences, because I do see the adultification of the girls, and I do see, like, I have to break things up sometimes. I
Mhm.
got older sisters who think they have to, run after their younger brothers. So I know, you breathe and let him breathe. I got this. I'm a teacher. I got this. Relax. It's like you have to go generally and do that. You have single mothers stressing out about, we finally got to church so we can drop the kids off. Drop the kids off and go be an adult and be with your friends that you grew up with. I got this. But like I said, the dynamics,
Mhm.
if I don't talk to people like you in love, I don't know what the dynamics are, because there's no way for me to know. But I appreciate, because I do a lot of things. This is probably where the self-sacrificing bit never been terribly male centered on that spectrum, but the self-sacrificing bit is something I'm having to unlearn. As you know,
And that's deeply rooted in patriarchy. The patriarchy needs you to be self-sacrificing. It needs you to sacrifice yourself so that it could benefit from your labor.
but I mean,
So
even in
yeah,
terms of for other
even
Black women, it can get to be too much, just physically, just trying to make
oh
sure
yeah,
other
we self-sacrifice in so
so
many
many ways.
ways. Absolutely.
to keep the women and the children going alone, but it does still, you're right, it still does patriarchy. Because why are we in these situations? We're in these situations because of the patriarchy we live in. But having to learning, okay, here are the dynamics. I can only come at it through a relatively limited experience of having been now a teacher for longer than I've been an adult, which by itself is a testimony to self-sacrifice in Black girls. I just realized that. Oh my gosh. But having done
We
that,
go into self-sacrificing careers. Very much that.
yeah,
We do that.
that's deep. I've been teaching 28 years. I'm only 44
We be out
years
here
old.
poor and struggling because we want to help people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went into social work because I wanted to help people.
Yeah.
I ain't help myself though.
Some of my students are doing this.
Not with that decision.
Some of my
Yeah,
students are
and
doing this.
listen, I tell my niece, I have a niece in college. She was talking about she was gonna go to school for political science so she could be it and help. Girl, you better go get that coin. How does that serve you? I said you do that on your part time. That be your nonprofit that you start on the side. You're gonna go out here and have to work for these people, get your coin, get your money. Prioritize you. And that she wasn't prioritizing her. She wanted to help other people. But how does that help you? And we've been programmed and conditioned to do that throughout our whole lives. I went into social work for the very same reason. I grew up in a broken home. Child welfare came out to our house once. They neglected me. They didn't do their job. And I said, I'm going to be a social worker so no other child has to go through this. And then I spent my entire career dealing with vicarious trauma, consuming while unhealed and exacerbating my own issues. If I had prioritized myself, if I put me first, I would have known I ain't had no business in that space. I should have went somewhere where they was gonna help me. But that's how we've been taught.
Because
yeah, we've been taught to be self-sacrificing, and it shows up in so many ways.
Okay.
We go into helping fields because of that programming and that conditioning.
That explains
Very
a
much
lot of
that.
things.
We'll go into these helping fields. Oh, don't think about it.
That explains a lot of things.
Black women have been programmed and conditioned to be self-sacrificing, regardless of whether you have children, whether you have family. Programmed to be self-sacrificing. Everybody wants to benefit from your labor.
And then we're doing it to one another because fear and pain, those types of motivations require constant, you have to constantly be applying pain and fear. So since you can't be everywhere the person is that you want to, keep that heightened sense of fear and pain and suffering, you make sure that they do it to themselves. So you don't have to worry about it,
I mean, if you just think about slavery on just the surface level, you think about Black people in general, that it benefits them.
Yeah. One of the I saw this, I think it had to do with my leadership education that I had for my bachelor's, because I got a degree in psychology / organizational behavior. And these people were maniacal. Okay. I'm just telling y'all. I keep telling y'all, I don't even know how I ended up in this program with FBI analyst as your teacher, but okay, whatever. Okay, fine. I learned some things about people's behavior, including and especially mine, right? Because that was actually why I went back to school the second time. Yes, in our heads, we're thinking, oh, we're going to get more, we're going to level up our family. We're going to, be the ultimate, we're going to make this ultimate sacrifice and do all of these things as a single mom, putting myself back through school the second time. And I learned about what's called, this is white people for you, okay? Because you do talk about that evil trifecta of um, patriarchy, misogyny, and racism, right? How they all, feed into this one monster in order to keep the same cycles going over and over on a repeat. And what we do as Black women, one of the things that we have in our head is we told each other, oh, these are generational curses. No, they're not generational curses, Black women, that is running through your family. Those are generational choices. You're just making the same choice that the person before you did, instead of giving yourself different options and tools, which is what Black Woman Center does for you. It gives you tools and skills building for you to seek your own happiness, for you to seek your own peace and joy. Okay. But you can't do that if you're centering everything and everyone else. But anyway, one of the things that I had to study was what's called tribal leadership. And this is white people for you. They always come up with some bullshit. Okay. So it's two authors. I think there's some white woman, some Legion joined in with the other two white guys or whatever. But this is how they get down. Now they have a 1 through 5 too, but I saw the correlation in the two. And the reason I saw it, I recognized why I saw the correlation, not just that I saw it, but that what love is teaching us about these 5 stages, right, is from the same playbook that white people talk about their idea of leadership and whatever. They don't connect, for one thing. They don't. We as Black women, we have highly advanced limbic systems, just by age alone, just by the fact that we've been here for millions of years. We're just highly evolved. Our limbic system is highly evolved. That's our emotional and feeling center. It is the most powerful part of the brain. It can make your heart beat race. You can be holding your breath. Your blood pressure go up. All of a sudden, everything looks fuzzy. You stop thinking. You start doing all these things because your emotional and feeling center can shut down every other part of your brain. And it can have it can tell other parts of your brain what to do, like release more stress hormones. So if you, as a Black woman, or what I call goddess born, that would mean that you too have a highly evolved limbic system. Most other groups of people do not. That's why they always telling you, oh, don't believe your lying eyes. Don't uh you're being too emotional and you're being too feelings. No, your feelings are telling you something. And we have very powerful ability of instinct as Black women. But we're constantly being told in a patriarchy that we shouldn't believe in our own feelings, emotions. It's not your emotions and feelings that are getting in your way. It's that you haven't been taught how to identify your feelings, how to rate how they feel to you. And you haven't been taught how to bring those feelings down to manage them in a way so that you can, more clearly think in a situation, or listen to your feelings and go, yeah, I'm not safe. My feelings is telling me the truth. I'm out. Okay. Your feelings and your emotions are extraordinarily important as a Black woman and a Black girl. The last thing you need to do is be acting like you don't have them, or you can't trust them, or you can't believe in yourself. Okay? Please get Black woman centered so you can get back on that track to believe in yourself. So, when I'm looking at tribal leadership, stage 1, and I'm gonna have what I'm gonna have you do, love, is I'm gonna have you talk again about what's the extreme So we're going to start with the most extreme, non-centered Black woman. Okay. So I'm going to let you go first, and then I'm going to give you the coordinating thing in tribal leadership, because they have 5 too. Okay. Go. Now, what's the first one? Black woman, the first type of Black woman.
She's the extremely male-centered woman, and she
Okay.
exhibits all 9 of the traits.
Okay. So she exhibits all 9 of the traits. She's the extremely male-centered woman. The equivalency to that in tribal leadership is all life sucks. And as we go, you'll start to understand what that means. But okay, so what's the next one for the women, love? Number 2.
Predominantly male-centered.
And
So she exhibits 6 to 8 of the traits at least.
Okay.
And she's still going to center men, prioritize men. Mm-hmm.
She's still dangerous to other Black women and Black girls.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the equivalency on tribal leadership is my life sucks. See, the first layer of tribal leadership is that person believes that all life is bad for everyone. It's just bad. Okay. There is no reading, there is no comprehension, there is no studying. That is the type of person who judges, they don't discern. They call names, they don't actually discern behaviors. And so just like these two women, the next level is my life sucks. Okay. So the first level of all life sucks is going to be the most judgmental Black woman. And she believes she already got it in hell, and she really believes in all she gonna do all 9 of the behaviors. Okay. And like Love said, she's taught us that the next level, predominantly male-centered, she gonna be doing 6 to 8 of the damn things, of the 9 things. Okay. Because she fundamentally believes that her life sucks, comparing it to other people. Okay. So, what's 3?
So 3 is disenchanted, and she exhibits 3 to 5 traits.
Okay. So Miss Disenchanted would be the equivalent of number 3 of tribal leadership, which is I'm a star and you're not. I'm the best and you're not. And level 3 of tribal leadership actually creates and maintains level 1 and 2, because they treat level 1 and 2 like crap. So they're the type, the whole I'm a star. Like, let's say you have a doctor, and in the hospital there's a team. Let's say it's a surgical team and you got a doctor, but he's a star. Not everybody in the team, him. And he gonna make everybody else life miserable, because all of you should be fawning over him because he's a star. So he's going to put into play everything against you that he can do. So if he came up with patriarchy, he's going to use every single measure against your tail. Okay? Because you're all competition to the star. Okay? All right. Now, 4th.
So 4th is the transitioning woman. There's an echo. And she exhibits 1 to 2 traits. And at this stage, she is safe for other women. Okay. And herself.
So she's getting better. She's getting better at seeing where she's not, working. She's seeing more of a mission. You know, she's done some self-study. She's gotten some tools. Maybe she's gone and gotten a therapy. Maybe she has read, I don't know, Black Woman Centered, or seasoned the Crypto Bull Run, or Level Up Single Mom. I don't know. But she's read some stuff. She comprehended some things. She sees, she's been studying herself, and she's been working on herself and catching herself and her behaviors. Okay. Well, the equivalency to that in tribal leadership is we're great and they're not. So we do believe by that time that we over here are good, but that group over there, no, they not. They're not. Okay. And that's where you see more from Black women when it comes to, I'm going to make sure that the next Black woman moves forward. I'm going to work on my behavior so that I don't cause, not only do I not cause harm to another Black woman, not only do I not judge what she wears, what her hair looks like, how she decides to use language or whatever it is. Okay, it's all pass all the time. Okay, over here. So that person has moved out of being the star and sees others as stars as well. And so if we work together, we can change the environment for 1 and 2. 3 is still a problem because they causing problems. But you guys get what I'm saying. So now what's number 5?
So that's the final stage. She is liberated and self-centered. She exhibits none of the traits. She's safe for herself and the community, and she's self-centered.
The equivalency of five in tribal leadership is we're all great. It means it's my job to make sure that Black women are centering themselves, so are Black girls, and that they're discovering that they have power, preternaturally elemental power, in fact, and that I cannot empower them because they already possess the power. What I can do is help them remove the pain out of the way that they stuff their power down with. You didn't give it to nobody. They didn't take it from you. It's still there, Black women. It's always been there, but they needed you to believe it wasn't there. So they used violence, the violence of patriarchy. That's what really marks patriarchy as well. Not just a lack of empathy, but a need to violate other people, especially those whoever believes is most vulnerable. So patriarchy is about creating prey and predators, master and slave. You guys get it? So the person who thinks beyond that, they don't see competition. I don't believe I have any competition outside of myself. I don't. I don't I don't feel I don't feel jealousy. Now, my personal demon is wrath and pride, but I don't experience jealousy. So I also don't experience feelings of shame or guilt anymore. I just divested myself of it. I looked at it and was like, I don't need those. That's what other people use to manipulate and try to get me to do some patriarchal bullshit I ain't gonna do. Okay? No. So if someone tries to shame me or guilt me, I just see it as a manipulation tactic. I don't see fear the same way that I used to see fear. I see fear now as, yes, I have actual fear for Black women and Black girls, but I don't have a personal fear for myself because I will whoop your ass. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah. So see, And that person should be trying to make sure that all Black women, femmes, Black girls are all held sacred, protected, and uplifted at the cost to me as an individual. Because if I uplift everybody else, then we'll all be uplifted. Won't this be great? None of us will have to worry because we all good, right? That's how that particular Black woman is thinking, or that leader is thinking. What love has shown you is actually that Black women and Black girls are really leaders. We just have to devote what is it? Divest ourselves from the idea of patriarchy and what it entails. So if you get Love's book, you will understand what what patriarchy is made up of. So then you could start going, okay, I don't want that. I ain't doing that no more. See this one right here? Oh, that's definitely going. Oh, this one, I'm setting this bitch on fire. Number 3 is out of here. Okay, it ain't never coming back. Ever, never, ever. So does that make sense? I hope that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It does make sense. Very much.
So love, um, I'm not gonna keep picking on you about coming over. I'm not even gonna look at you. When I say we miss you, can you come? we have, we still in the live, and I already miss you. Can you come on, please? Look, lady, your brilliance, girl, your brilliance. Can you please just come on? Just come on. Just what you need. What you what we need to get for you. How can we center you?
I'm on this journey for myself too. This healing and this self centering journey, for myself. And so I think that is like I definitely need to get in spaces where that work is being done to encourage and motivate me to keep going. Because it's been it's hard. It's hard. I've been talking a lot on my profile about grieving, about Black women having the space to grieve the life that we thought we were going to have, the fantasy that we were fed. Because grieving is a part of healing. You have to be willing to let go of the things you thought you were going to have, the things that are holding you back, that you're holding on to. And so I'm still grieving. Um, and I'm in the space where I'm allowing myself the space to do that without doing more harm to myself, if that makes sense. So I will be there though, because one of the things I'm working on is learning how to show up for myself. And I think that's something that Black women really need to work on. We are very good at showing up for other people. That's one of the things I've noticed about myself. That's one of the things that prompted me to write this book. Um, whenever I had someone that needed to be taken care of, I could get the job done. I could figure it out. But now that it's about me and me doing the work for myself, that's how I know I'm not self-centered, is because I struggle the most with doing that work for myself. So yeah, but I'm coming.
It'll be wonderful to have you there. Just because, again, the tools that you provide, and because it has multiple modalities. Everybody is not as good at course taking, because we hear course and realize, go back to things, but sometimes people can read. Your book is, you can take it chapter by chapter. And you did a great job. It's in our questions. We kind of went, it's like question 2.5, 3.5. But you did a wonderful job in doing a summary at the end of the chapter so that we can collect our thoughts, breathe, and be able to kind of learn what we learned and respond and ask ourselves further questions. And for some people, that's going to be an easier modality to deal with. Because again, course taking for some of us, not I enjoy doing that kind of thing, but I also enjoy reading. So I can do either one. But for some people, having different modalities, because we all are different, would be very valuable. And I think that once people understand, there's a liberation in knowing what you're dealing with in yourself first, and then deciding who do you fit with others. So what you have to bring to the table is extremely valuable. So love, Auntie Love's already done all this. I don't need to do all this, but you are definitely welcome, and you have a lot to share that I think would be very valuable. And something you can do, like people build their own rooms to support what it is they want to do. So, like my book is Season the Crypto Bull Run Financial Freedom. I heard what you said about what young people should be doing is getting their coins. So my students who are going into social work and all the rest, I'm just like, here, get this, invest your money, build your coin. I understand why you did what you did because I did too. But here's what nobody told me: if you're gonna do that, figure out Bitcoin, build your coins. Know that every leap year you can do well in that. Learn about cyclical assets. So we kind of build our own rooms so that we could help Black women learn the things that we needed for them to learn, that we were called to share with them. Auntie Love has multiple rooms. Um, and so when you get there, you also can build your own rooms. If you want to take an issue from your book that you want to talk about and you want to do a room for people to come and discuss that, you can do that. So it's not like you have to have things pre-built. If you want to build a room of your own or even a section of your own with multiple rooms in it, we can help you with that.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
definitely interested in it. That sounds amazing. And it definitely sounds like something I want. It just like again that it sounds intimidating. So to have the support, I definitely will. I'm showing up. I will be there.
Good. Ooh, girl, because it's taking us a minute. Girl, we had Michaela on this. We had everybody on
Now
this.
I've been in there. I come. I poke around. I peek. I scroll. I read. I don't say nothing, but I have been there. Let me say that I have been there, but I've not said nothing. I haven't made
Well,
my presence known, so
Auntie,
I will do that.
yeah, we don't need that. And we want you to come over to Project U as well. MTC is where we're gonna be starting to do our infrastructure builds. So those are gonna be separate, which is great because if you decide, hey, I want to build a room around this because of this, just what like Auntie D is saying. If you ask me, whenever somebody asks me, love, I was thinking about, you should do it. That's all you're going to get from me. I'm not going to tell you what you can't do. I'm only going to tell you how you can make it happen. You should build that room. Girl, oh, really? You want to do you want to, girl, we can get you on Udemy or what's that one I got? Whichever one it is, girl, I got both of them so you can do your classes. There's no reason why, there's plenty of information in the different rooms too for you to be able to just go, hey, I'm gonna use this to do this. I'm gonna use that to do that. Okay, now I'm gonna build my own room because all Love and D and Key and the rest of them are gonna say is go ahead, we'll be there. Hey, what's up in here? What's going on, Black Woman City? So, first I just wanted it, and Auntie D and I've been doing this together for a very long time now, but we wanted to make sure that um you could have this feeling that we have now, like on stage all together, that we want that. Yes, we know we have some work we got to get done, and we can do that. But we want to center Black women while we do it and cut all this extra nonsense out of our way. It's just in our way right now. And our little girls are the same world that we have such a hard time dealing with because it is that bad. It is that heinous to us. We're sending our little girls out with no tools, really, no skills. We just letting them go willy nilly out there to deal with every weird ass adult on this planet. from school to home to uh church to after school programs, all these places where people feel like they get to feed off of our little black girls. And no, absolutely not. Nope. So yeah, I'm excited, but we definitely got to come up with another day for one of these. I'm sorry. We got some more questions. We want this to be a centerpiece, girl. Come on. So I hope it's all right if we come back to you um in like a month or so. I'm not sure what you got going on. We'll
Absolutely.
just check in and see what you
I'll be
got going
here.
on. Girl, I there's so much more to this book. There's there's so much more.
There
Well,
is.
I'm glad to hear that. Y'all just build me up and encourage me so much. I appreciate y'all so much. I'm actually working on a revision now, so there's going to be more to the
Ooh, we
more.
should have you back and promote the revision. When
Well,
is
I
the
got to get
revision
yeah.
approximately
When I'm
coming out?
ready.
What is the so we can do stuff like the second edition and all
I
that?
don't know. I don't
Okay.
know.
Well, we can come back a third time. That's fine.
Yeah.
Let's
No
Oh,
finish.
pressure.
yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, we're gonna finish up talking about this one, and then we'll be there when you revised it. And this time, because I already done told you, Miss Ma'am, I told you, we're gonna have you doing some more interviews, not just over. I'm gonna get this out because I need every black woman to have this book. Okay?
Yes, I do need to. You're right. I need to get it out there, and I'm about to
Yes.
start doing some more work around getting it more exposure, and getting more Black women talking about it and considering it. Just
Yeah.
even I want Black women to read the book. I think this book is, not to toot my own
It's
horn, but I think it's a good book. I think it's needed. I think it's thought provoking, and it'll make you consider some things that you have never. And that was the goal. So now the mission is to get it in Black women's hands, get us reading it, get us talking about it. Um, because that's the other thing too. As I go move into the revision, I do want more feedback so I can know what things work. Originally I started out with 11 traits, and then I realized that I could condense some down, and some of them, kind of overlapped, and so, you know, there's always room for improvement. There's always room for more nuance, especially when it comes to Black women. So I definitely want to show up in spaces and really get this book out there so we can start talking about it and start building upon the concepts and the ideas from the book. So yes, thank you.
Yeah. And hook up with level up single mom. She has her own um lives that she does.
Mm-hmm.
Um think it would be superb, you know, i- if you were able to go over there and
Yeah,
have as well.
Woman Chat Wednesdays is well attended.
Mm.
That's the show
Woman
that she
Chat
does.
Wednesdays. Okay.
Woman Chat Wednesdays.
What time
She
of day
does a
does she
wonderful
does
show.
it?
She's on Eastern. She's on Eastern time with y'all, so I'm on Pacific time.
No,
So
I ain't
I
on
have to kind
Eastern
of work on.
time.
Where are
Y'all know I'm
you?
in Thailand. I'm in Thailand, so it's
Oh,
the sun is
you on a
rising right
whole
now. Well, the
different.
sun is well up.
Okay,
It's up.
my bad.
Yeah,
You
it's
did
seven
mention that
o'clock
you
in the
were in
morning
Thailand.
right now.
Okay, so it's
So
7 o'clock. Okay, so you're
I'm
10 hours. You're on. Okay,
11.
usually 3 o'clock East. Okay, 11. So we're 11 hours different.
I'm 11
Okay, so
hours
we.
ahead of Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, so you're 8 hours ahead of me then. Okay, got you.
Okay.
She's on Eastern.
Okay.
So, well, except, so you gotta, okay, I need to thank you over again because you got up real early to be here with us today. Thank you kindly on
I
Thailand
haven't been
time.
asleep yet. I ain't
Oh,
even
well,
been to
thank
bed.
you
We gonna get to
four
bed.
times over. We need to let you go to bed. But she usually is
Yeah,
like
I
three
need to go to
o'clock,
bed.
2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon,
Okay, you
Eastern
know what?
time.
That's in my window. I'll be up at night, so I be moving around at
Okay.
night. So that would
The
be
other person,
morning for me. But it would be afternoon for her. I could do
okay.
that.
The other person that you should talk to since you are in Thailand, since you as a black woman decided to center yourself and get up out of Dodge, Stephanie Perry is a natural match for you. The Exodus Summit. You
I
should be
love
speaking
Stephanie
that.
Perry. I follow her on YouTube. I actually I was paying for her Patreon, but I couldn't afford it. No. I love Stephanie. I love the work that she does. I wanted to do her summit earlier this year. I could, whether last year, I couldn't afford it. I would love to connect with Stephanie because I think the work that she's doing for Black women is amazing. It is self-centering very much, helping Black women to
I would
find
approach
safe
her as a
spaces for
potential.
themselves.
I would raise, if I were you, I would raise your profile a little bit and approach it as a speaker.
I would love
That's
to.
how I would approach
I would.
that. Instead of you paying to be in there, I would ask her, because the
Mhm.
summit's not till October. I
Mhm.
would be comfortable where you want the book to be, and I would approach her in terms of, I'm not just necessarily coming in as someone, I'm someone who actually did the darn thing and did it even before I knew about this. So I have things to offer. How do we get the mindset shift as Black women to be able to pick up and leave a whole country that won't center us, that won't treat us right? I would approach that as a speaker. I would frankly go in there like, this is what I have and this is what I have to offer. What we gotta do? I would try that
Okay.
when you feel
Okay.
comfortable, because I'm listening
I'm
to.
comfortable. I'm
Because I
comfortable.
feel
I
like
can work. Yeah.
she ain't got the 9 steps and the 5 traits, and why we as Black women don't. She ain't got that, but you do. You do.
Okay. I will definitely. I'm gonna talk to you. I'm gonna talk to ID, and we gonna figure it out.
Okay. Well, you know where we
Cause
at. You get the Discord,
okay in the Discord. I'm being a Discord.
and if you need to get in touch with us, we won't do this online. But obviously, you can have email and phone numbers. We just can't do this in front of the public because we
Oh,
can't get
absolutely.
everybody out here. But if you want
And
to have
Auntie
more
Love has
contact,
my email. She got my contact.
oh,
You're
okay.
more
Then
than welcome to shoot.
we got this. We just obviously, if you want to have more contact, we can definitely do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm open.
Yeah, and
Yes,
you already
but I
have
am.
permission.
Go ahead. I'm
You
sorry,
already
Auntie Love. What you say?
no. I apologize. You already have permissions to create rooms and all of that in
Okay.
in TC, okay? And
Okay.
I will send you the I gotta remember to do it. I lose my mind. If I forget, love, please remind me, girl, to send you
Okay.
the Project U Discord. And once you get kind of
Okay.
used to them,
I'll put that in the private chat.
yeah,
Hold on, I think I
okay,
can probably get to that because I have my channel content up and I can probably pull the link up out of there.
yeah, and I'm gonna have to put this on the forum, but I meant to display your Cash App or whatever, Venmo or whatever. I really want to start doing that this year, making sure that each Black woman that comes up here, that your Cash App and everything is available to people, you know,
Okay.
because that's really important to me. Um, so yeah, come through, please, 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 love, come through. We just want you in a
Copying
place
it right.
to be support. You can be supported. You can be, you can ask. You can share whatever you want. We share whatever we have. That's that. And then the MTC, we will be starting to um, work with different groups of Black women to build infrastructure for healthcare or education or whichever, you know. So
Okay.
um, I'm so grateful to you. I know this kept you up
I'm
all
so
night.
grateful
I
for
am
you too.
so grateful to you. Thank you
No,
so
I
much.
appreciate y'all so much for giving me space. I appreciate y'all very much. The encouragement and the motivation that I get when I talk to you, I tell you every time. You give the best compliments, you give the best motivational and encouraging speeches. I appreciate you very much.
Oh, you're so sweet. And it's because I don't have to be I don't have to be cool and nice in a patriarchy. That's why I don't waste my energy on Legion and Crossroad Demons and Black Men's and Blackistan or Caucasoids that ain't bending the knee to me. You know, I
I know
don't.
that's
Yeah,
right.
So
Mm-mm.
I'm here to be y'all's nuclear option, okay? Uh, love, they send me missives down underneath the 13th ring of hell. Okay, we need a nuclear option to help with it. All the talks is gone out the window. There ain't no negotiating with these people. Just call love. That's it. Oh well, good luck.
Right.
So
That's
we
right.
just want to keep that. We want to keep that energy, and we want to make sure that you have the support that you need. As we go through. And I really want us to understand that we are leaders. What they keep calling us masculine is actually leader. We're innately good black women and black girls. So all that mess y'all talking, that that actually details. That's not masculine, you freaks. That's leadership. Somehow masculine don't be any of the leadership things that
No.
y'all always talk about out there. So, uh,
Yeah.
uh, um, I'm just so grateful to you, and I'm so grateful for this book. This is amazing, just absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
So,
Indeed,
thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you so
Again, that's going to help us get our minds around
thank you
what
so
we're
much.
seeing and what we can do. That's going to really help a lot of people. We just have to make sure that, we support you in getting the tools to where they need to be. And so you don't have to do this
Yes.
alone.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I really do. Because I really want this book out there. I think it could help. Absolutely. I feel like I've been writing this book for like at least the last 10 years. It's
It
taken me
has
some
that kind of
time to
density.
be able to.
It, it has that kind of density. And you don't read a book like that often. A
Hmm.
book where someone's hope and love and life experience has been condensed to, I don't have a word for it exactly, but you can feel the density of that book. Of just, this is not something that you read to say you read it. No, you have to like
Mhm.
deal with the essence of Love Maya Edwards when you read this book. You either gonna accept it or reject it. You ain't gonna have no, this is her. You can feel the personhood in it, if you will. And that, again, that doesn't happen that often. Not that many people on their inaugural book have a distinctive voice like that, but you do.
Oh,
And I
thank you so
think
much.
some Black women will read that and see a vision of what they can be. Others will take from it what they need. But at least it's a
Yes.
Black woman's authentic voice, and that's
Mhm.
the gravity of our being is not that often expressed, and it's also expressed in a way that is actually helpful. That's important. There are,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna defile the lie by mentioning her name, but I think I know who you're referring to when there's a certain person with a great deal of gravity talking about what Black women need to do is get rid of their babies, put out accountability for the men. She has tremendous gravity. She keeps on coming back. I don't understand how she manages to pull this off, but that's not helpful because, as you said,
Yeah.
this allows the men to continue to not be accountable for their own behavior and their own children. It puts the burden right back. And and I'm going to just say
Right.
this for the record, it puts us in the hands of people that have a vested interest in our reproductive outcomes being terrible. If Black women were to do that, millions more of us would be in the hands of people that literally want to cut us up in the most intimate ways. But she has a gravity. She keeps on coming back.
Yeah.
And Auntie Love, I want you to know, I followed up on what you told me last week, and I went and I looked, and I'm sitting up there like, I'm not ready to catch a case right now, but I need to slap some folk, but I'm not going to do that. But I'm just like, how
Yeah.
did you let this woman? But I just said, let me stay out of prison because we're gonna talk to Love My Edwards, and she
Okay,
gonna give us tools we
that's
can
what
actually use.
I told you it was all coming back.
I ain't got to do all that because we gonna talk to somebody and put someone on who actually has tools we can actually use. It frustrates me because you see the generational. I'm old enough because I started so early to now see generational effects of this stuff. And it's just like, thank you for
Yes.
providing us something that we can get a sense of where we are. Are we safe where we are? How do we find safety in community? We have something to do that. and we thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ladies. I really appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for having me today. And thank you so much for just giving me the space. I really do appreciate it.
Well, you have done a wonderful thing. I got mine on Amazon. I don't know if you can see it.
We can see.
I
I
can't.
love my
Oh,
book.
there it is.
Oh, there
There
it
it
is.
is. It came visible.
That's me. That's the book.
Go get this book for real, for real, for real. You got
Yeah, you can get it now for real. You can get a hardback copy on Amazon right now.
Oh, I was
And
gonna
it's
ask you about that.
actually the edited version. So if you decide to get it, I have since I released the first version, I have edited and updated just a little bit. So you will see some changes in it if you do buy the hard copy. I'm waiting for mine to come in the mail now because I just got it on Amazon like just last week. And I'm still working on getting it on other platforms like Draft to Digital, which will help me get it on like Barnes and Nobles and Apple and all that. I work with a professional this time to help me
mhm.
publish and get me a ISBN and all that stuff. So um, if you do buy the paperback, you'll see that it is a little bit different. It's a little more polished and
Oh no, it's all polished. Okay, nobody
yeah.
listening to you talk crazy about this book. No, y'all, I don't care what version y'all get. Y'all need to buy this book right now. You understand? Now, not now. Prime, yesterday. Isn't that what
Buy
Prime?
the book.
Prime, Amazon
Amazon Prime.
will give it to
Uh
you
huh. Buy the book.
before you think about it. If
Yeah.
so, they should have delivered this already to your house. But if they didn't, you need to get back with them and get your book. Okay,
Get your book.
come on, black women.
Give it
We
as
need.
makes a great gift too. Makes a great birthday present, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. It's a great book.
And why aren't y'all starting book clubs that love can come to? You guys could literally put little book clubs together and pay her a fee. Like, come on, black women, we know what we doing here because we really do need this. We need this book, and it will help us tremendously as we move forward, not to just survive this nonsense, but to thrive, to get our happiness, to be at peace, to have some joy, to be able to say to ourselves, okay, I feel sad right now. And yes, I am grieving. I'm on that wheel, girl. I'm between denial and anger, in my case, enraged. Okay. So it's Black woman centered will help you get to acceptance of the reality of the situation so that you can take action, right?
Yes.
And she is providing you with the tools and the skills building. Please, please get this book. Start some book clubs yourself. Hey, y'all better, I'm just telling y'all because it's amazing. It will change your life. And please work with little black girls. There's nothing wrong with reading this to little black girls. You don't know if you don't know what they going through in school and what they go through after school, what they go through in all these different programs and whatever. Believe me, they need to have this as a tool. They need to be able to have some of the tools that are in here so that they can defend themselves emotionally, right? And mentally.
Yeah.
Okay. So this book will help them to do that. They deserve to have the tools and the skills as well. So thank you so much, love. I really appreciate
Thank
you.
you
And thank you,
guys so much. And I'm
everybody.
looking forward to the next time we
Yeah.
get together. You guys have a
Yeah.
wonderful day, rest of y'all
You
day,
too.
and I hope you have a good evening. Thank you all so much.
You're welcome.
We adore you, girl. We'll see you over there in the big meetings.
So
Yes, you
glad to
will.
be at the meetings.
Okay.
So sorry.
All
I
right,
told
Miss.
y'all from church.
gosh, that was so much fun. Well, let's say good night.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you next time with your Noir Aunties.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. And thank you, love. Maya Edwards. Oh my God, that was so cool. Boy, we got Season the Crypto Bull Run, Level Up Single Mom. Dang I love y'all. All of you wonderful, beautiful, incredible Black women. I love y'all. You know that? Thank you so much.
Thank you for being
forget
here.
to subscribe, like, and do something. I don't know, notifications, something. Anyway, pass it on. Share, girl, share.
Like, share, and subscribe. Y'all know what.
Your book,
You're
girl.
smart. We know you are. Good night.
Good night, everybody.